Now, have you been practicing your questions?
I
or
swear
what?
I have.
You better have.
Yeah.
He's just been researching you.
How you doing, kid? How are you, man? All good?
Better to be here, is that?
Hey, Kevin, 107.5. Is that kind of the target weight for him, or would that be perfect, or do you want more?
No. Look, I'm very happy with the weight. As you can see, today when you go on the scales, there's very little body fat on him, and there's a lot of muscle. And the speed hasn't slowed down at all. If anything, he's got faster. So I'm very pleased with the exercise. He's carrying it well. He's grown into his body. He's becoming a real heavyweight. If it was extra weight that we were unnecessarily carrying, I'd be concerned. But you can all see his body. He's in terrific.
So what is the target weight?
There's no target weight. He's 23 years old. He's a baby, especially by heavyweight standards, and he's growing into his body. You saw Bowie on the scales at 120, and he looked in good shape. Big solid boy. Joe will probably end up over 100.
Let's talk about what this fight is, as far as rankings are concerned, as far as the politics of moving up in the boxing world to getting in those top 5 positions, and maybe top 15 in a new organisation.
Look, it's not just important in the rankings, it's very important in the career of Joseph Parker. This fight is a very pivotal, important fight for us. This is really sort of where we've ended up after 2.5 years. It's a unification bout. It's the first time in New Zealand that we've had 2 top 15 fighters fight each other in a unification title. The right result here is huge for the winner. He'll move into the top 5, and once you move into the top 5, it's just careful, strategic plans and moves from there to get a mandatory shot. So, we have a lot at stake here. We've got fights scheduled for the rest of this year, October 15th, December 5, January 24. It's very important that we get things right tomorrow night.
How do you balance the politics of it with fighting the right guys you want to go? Is that an easy thing to do when you look at your opponents?
This particular opponent is someone who we looked hard at, very strong, very powerful, well trained, somebody who will give Joe a real test, somebody I think at this particular stage of Joseph's development, he's the right guy to put in front of him. There is risk with this fight. Everybody knows that Joe's been caught a couple of times with overhand rights. Bowie Tupou throws a phenomenal overhand right. So it's very important for us that we fight the right fight, we fight a disciplined fight, a smart fight. I need Joe to be very skillful and very clever out there. So, there is risk, but there's also great reward for this fight.
Is that why you've got this fight? Because of that overhand right? It was an area you want to fix at Joseph?
Yeah, it's the overhand, the defence of the overhand right is something that we've worked on for a long time. And it's okay to work on it in the gym. It's a little bit different on fight night. You can get the drill, you can drill it 100 times in the gym per day. And then you go out there in front of a big crowd, and when the belts are at stake and the emotions are running, and then you forget to bend your knees and you forget to get your hand up high enough, and so that's the risk. And so, but we've trained hard. I'm very confident. Joe's very confident.
It's a big step up, though, isn't it? Like with all due respect to the guys who've fought before, this is a couple of runs up the ladder, isn't it?
We've fought some very good opponents at different stages of Joe's development, and this is just another stage. Joe's a much better fighter now than the guy that fought Brian Minto. He's a much better fighter than the fighter who fought Costa Beta Jr. in Hamilton last year. This is August 2015, Joseph Parker. And he's getting better, he's getting bigger, he's getting faster, and his skill level is improving every single fight.
We must be getting awfully close to not seeing Joseph in New Zealand. Is this sort of one of the last times you think that we might see him? Obviously there's other fights you want to schedule, but you must be pretty close to going fighting in other people's backyards.
I think that's very obvious to a lot of people, that it's only a matter of time until we start campaigning in America. We've got October 15th scheduled for Auckland. We've got December 5 in Hamilton, and then we're fighting in Samoa, everything going well, January 24. I was in discussions last week about whether we would go straight to the States after that. My liking is to have one more fight here in New Zealand, end of April, beginning of May next year, and then we'll campaign in America after that. So we've been presented with some very good options from the major networks in America. Joe's definitely been on the radar of the networks for a while now. They've been watching what he's doing. Both Showtime and HBO are very keen to display him.
Talk to us about Jeff Fenech, because your relationship goes back a hell of a long way.
Jeff and I have been mates for many, many years. I don't like to disclose how many years, but we were both young men. And in fact, we travelled the world together in the amateurs, and we boxed in a lot of different tournaments together, and we were always great mates. And I supported him when he became a professional, and he went on his way and won three different world titles. And has been a great fighter, a great ambassador for boxing, and he's a pretty damn good coach. So actually, for me it was a nice little friendly challenge to have him in the other corner. And I know Jeff's, like myself, he is very thorough. Won't leave any stone unturned. He'll be watching a lot of tape. He'll put together a very good fight plan, and he'll bring the best that Bowie Tupou has to offer. And I knew that, and I said to Joe right from day one, we'll get the best that Bowie has. So that's what we've trained for.
Bowie told me the other day he's never watched a Joseph Parker fight. Does that seem a bit crazy to you?
It seems a little crazy, but some fighters are like that. Some fighters, if they watch tape of their opponents, they get frightened. I think Bowie might get a surprise when I'm sure everyone's said to him, Joe Parker's fast. I'm sure he listened to his trainer Jeff Fenech say the other day, Joe Parker's probably the fastest heavyweight in the world at the moment. I've never seen a heavyweight that fast, and I haven't either. But it's actually when you watch the tape, when you hear people talking about it, when you're standing in the ring, and that jab's in your face, it's a totally different story.
As you say, ignorance is bliss, basically.
I'm just saying that he's probably doing himself a favour.
You just go back to this. Jeff told me quite a few yarns about the two of you and your training the other day, which was quite comical.
No comment.
Have you trained against each other before?
No, we haven't. No.
It's the first time for you.
Yeah.
Have you got a sort of funny story, funny to remember? He told me one about Taiwan and the hotel and some fruit. I don't know if you remember that.
No comment.
That sounds great.
Yeah, can I take the fifth?
Hey, we ran out of tape while you were talking about HBO.
Okay.
The ESPN, how big a deal is that having them cover these fights? Have you had a lot of feedback about it?
Tremendous. And Dan Raphael is the gentleman I've known for many, many years, right throughout my 12 years on tour. And Dan is working with ESPN now, and he was very instrumental in driving them to take Joe's fights. And just the fact that, ESPN is it's such a big network, goes to such a wide number of viewers in the US, it's helping us build and market Joe in America.
And what kind of feedback are you getting? Are you getting much from the public? Are you getting much from people you know about what they've seen of him in that fight past the world?
Oh, we're getting a lot of comments in social media. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are saying they've watched the fight. A lot of people are requesting Joe Parker merchandise. Joe's really starting to blow up. He's becoming a very recognisable figure here in New Zealand, as you know, and the interest worldwide is starting to grow. When they mention him and Anthony Joshua in the same breath all the time, it's because these are the two skillful, standout guys in the heavyweight division. My pleasure. All right.
Second time. Have they got the ring down there at the moment?
No, they're putting up 11 o'clock tonight.
11 o'clock tonight?
Yeah, they've got